Hello, Arnold Twist, and welcome back to Raw Recap and Review. This episode is for March 23rd, 2026 in Boston, Massachusetts. Now, if you enjoy WWE content like this, subscribe to the channel for more and like the video. Also, I have a CM Punk WWE 2K26 Showcase playthrough on this channel. Part 1 and 2 are already out, and Part 3 will be coming out this Thursday, so be able to check that out. Now let's get into the first segment of the show. Like always, you gotta get some talking in to begin Raw. We get Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman. They walk down to the ring. Paul mentions how he's honored to be the advocate for Brock. You know, he mentions all his accolades. You know, him being top tier in college. You know, being UFC champion, WWE champion, and he says to the people that Brock Lesnar is pissed off, and he's pissed off because you guys are cheering Oba Femi and acting like he's the next big thing. He calls Oba Femi overhyped, and he calls him a wannabe ruler. Only reason he beat Brock in that face off because he took advantage of him fighting 20 men and being distracted by Seth Rollins. And then he says that there's a lot of men in the past. They said they were going to be the one to take over Brock. But they all failed, like Goldberg, Braun Strowman, and Bobby Lashley. He even names Dean Ambrose. So if you know, you know. And then he mentions John Cena. They said they all couldn't get Brock. And then he mentions how, and then he says Oba Femi has already peaked in his career when he put his leg on Brock and pointed at the WrestleMania sign. And then he says Brock is going to conquer him at WrestleMania. And then Oba Femi pops out. Ooh, 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 ooh. He pops out. Big face off with him and Brock. Brock hits him, tries to go for the F5. Oba gets out of it and clotheslines him outside the ring. And now Brock is tweaking on the outside. He want to run the fade with Oba, but Paul said, chill. We gonna wait till WrestleMania. And then Oba Aura Farms in the middle of the ring. I can't wait for this match. All I gotta say is Triple H do the right thing. Give Oba the win. Oba needs to win that. Oba needs to beat the dog crap out of Brock Lesnar. It needs to happen. After that, we get a Dirty Dom vignette. He's talking about how the only reason he's not champ right now is because of Finn Balor, and he mentions that Finn Balor got what he deserved, and then he goes on to say that he's gonna beat Penta because he is the king of the luchadors. He has to get a little hype in because Penta is defending the IC title against him tonight, and that's gonna be in part 2. So be sure to take out part 2 of this recap. But now we are into the first match of the evening. We have the Usos, Jimmy and Jay, versus the Vision, Logan Paul and Austin Theory, in a non-title match. By the way, non-title match. Jay and Theory start the match off with a tie-up. It leads into an Irish whip, which gets stopped by Austin Theory and a shoulder tackle. Then Jay gets a comeback by elbowing Austin Theory. He tags in his brother Jimmy, and they both proceed to hit Theory with the elbow down. And then they do an elbow drop down to him at the same time. Jimmy goes for the pin. Theory kicks out of it. That leads to Theory fighting back now, getting multiple punches onto Jimmy. He puts him in a headlock, walks over to Logan. Logan tags in. That leads to a whip. Passing back and forth, Jimmy tries to take advantage of Theory, but Logan catches Jimmy. Theory tries to walk over, but Jimmy fights back, punches off Logan, kicks Theory in the face. But Theory fights back and then ends up booting Jimmy, and then Jimmy rolls out the ring, and that leads to Logan to hit a clothesline to Jimmy to the barricade outside of the ring, and that leads to a commercial break. We get back from the commercial break where he putting the heat on Jimmy. He tries to hit Jimmy with a kick, but it gets reversed by Jimmy, and that leads to the hot tag. Jay gets into the ring on fire, multiple clotheslines, and then he hits the suck it punch, the yeet combo onto Austin Theory, and then it goes on a Irish whip rebounds, which leads to Austin Theory landing the spinning punch onto Jay. He gets a little comeback in, and then tries. Then after the spinning punch, he does the rolling blockbuster inside the ring onto Jay, but Jay kicks out of it. At least now Theory with the upper hand tries to land a clothesline onto Jay, but Jay reverses it and then hits him with a big spear. After the spear, he tries to go to the top rope to land a splash. Logan Paul gets up there, knocks Jay down, and obviously Jimmy sees that, tries to defend his brother, goes down, tries to fight Logan, but Logan reverses him and then throws him to the ring post. That leads to Logan then trying to find his brass knuckles, and then you hear L.A. Knight. L.A. Knight pops out. L.A. Knight pops out while the ref is distracted. L.A. Knight throws Logan Paul into the ring post and then grabs the brass knuckles and hands them over to Jay. And Jay puts the brass knuckles on, looks at Austin Theory, bop, knocks him out right in front of the ref. Disqualification. That leads to him and his brother losing the match, Division 1. Overall, I give that match, I give it a 3.5 stars. It's a very entertaining match. But we got the goofy finish. But the Usos and LA start walking off. But Jay, he's on one right now. So he gets back into the ring and then bops Logan Paul. So Logan and Theory are knocked out in the ring right now. After that match, we get into another promo of the night. We get the man, Becky Lynch. And Becky Lynch is in the ring, and she mentions how they're booing her, after all she's done. And like she mentions how AJ Lee took a 10-year break, and she only took a 10-year, and she compared that to kind of how her taking a break. Becky took a 10-month break, and she said she took a break because the people, the WWE Universe, were tired of seeing her win, tired of seeing her succeed, and that. So she took time to spend the time with the people she loved. And then she came back, and she mentions how she didn't try to go for the big belt, the main event belt. She went for the mid-card belt, the IC title, and made it her own. She says that belt is hers. She made it the most important belt in women's wrestling. And the worst thing that happened to her is when she lost the belt at the Royal Rumble. She went back home, and she saw her daughter listening to AJ Lee's theme music and skipping all around the house, and she couldn't believe it. She couldn't believe it, man. She felt that she wasn't her daughter's favorite wrestler, and that hurt her. And she mentions how AJ Lee always tries to flex how she is the leader of the Divas era, and she mentions how she murdered the Divas era. She got rid of all that, and she's gonna treat AJ Lee exactly how she treated the Divas era, by getting rid of her. And you hear, light it up, light it tonight, light it up. But this time, we ain't got no skipping. AJ Lee run down to that ring. And then Becky skedaddle. She goes skedaddle out of there. She go outside the ring. Jumped over the barricade. AJ Lee ends up getting on the announce table. She goes, Becky, I know why you're scared of me. Because every time we get in this ring, I walk you like a dog. And she even makes a joke how she's her daughter's favorite wrestler, and she says, "You know what, Becky, you got it, you win. If I gotta prove to you that I'm better than you at the grand stage of them all, I will. Me versus you at WrestleMania." And I let the Becky laughing hysterically, saying, "You fell for my trap." You can have everything on Monday and Friday, but when it comes to WrestleMania, that's my domain. And says, just like 10 years ago. At her last WrestleMania she did it, and then the next day got sent her resignation letter. She said, "You ain't even got to worry about it this time." She says, just like that last time, we're never gonna see her again after this year's WrestleMania. I ain't gonna lie, these women cooking right now. They cooking. I feel like it can't be a regular match though. It need to be like a street fight or Extreme Rules. So they need to get wicked in that match. But I can't wait for it. Then we get to our second match of the night. We get that boy Bouncy. We get Javon Evans, a.k.a. my cousin. I'm playing. We just got the same last name. Against Grayson Waller. And the match starts off with a tie-up, which leads into a whip by Grayson Waller. Another which he lands a shoulder tackle, which is interesting because it happens just like the last match. With Austin Theory, they used to be teammates. So I wonder if they had an idea of doing that with each other. But after the shoulder tackle, then we get more Irish whips that leads to multiple rebounds back and forth into reverses. That leads to Javon doing a backflip, holding the middle rope out of a punch, and then he ends up hitting him with a drop kick into the corner. And then that leads to him grabbing Grayson and then hitting him with a bouncy Rana down onto the ground, and then That leads to Grayson skedaddling out the ring. But Javon's not done. He goes for the suicide dive, which was one of the craziest landings I ever seen. He could have broke his neck on that one. That was pretty bad. Javon gets Grayson back in the ring afterwards. Jumps on the top rope, does the crossbody on him, goes for the pin, gets a kick out from Grayson though, and now Grayson gets a comeback. Now he kicks Javon, and then throws him to the outside and tries to distract the ref. And he wants Kofi Kingston, who was there with him, to attack Javon, but Kofi says, I'm gonna let Grayson handle that. And then that led to him throwing. He went back down and said, "Hey, you don't want to help me, gang? You don't want to help me?" He threw Javon back into the ring. And while Grayson is arguing with Kofi, that man Javon hits the Undertaker dive on the outside into them. And then he gets onto the announce table, takes Corey's headset. He said, "Corey, you ready? We outside!" And that's how he gets to the commercial break. Get back from the commercial break with Grayson Waller being dominant. He's kicking back and forth onto Javon on the corner and says he doesn't belong here. He steps back forward to do a running move with the Javon on the corner, but Javon reverses him with a super kick, trying to fight back. He's missing. He's whiffing all these punches over Javon. Javon goes, "Dumbass!" Big smack to him. And then hits him with leads to him punching him back and forth, and then landing a spinning kick to his back. And then he goes to the apron, lands a springboard crossbody, and then does the bounce on the rope kick, which is called the red dot, onto Grayson, but it gets a pin. 1, 2, kick out from Grayson. He's still in the match. Now Grayson's trying to get his comeback. He hits him with a big elbow to Javon, but Javon fights right back with a big ass punch and a kick to Waller. But Waller gets right back with a big knee and then another spinning elbow. Now Grayson is trying to take the advantage. He Irish whips Javon to the rope, but Javon bounces off the rope into a flip on a Grayson, and then hits it with a German suplex. At least the Grayson getting outside the ring. Grayson tries to do the jump in through the ropes, rolling situation to a cutter, but that gets stopped by Javon, who hits him with a big knee and then hits him with another knee. That led to him getting into the top rope, but he's stopped off the top rope. He's taken off by Javon on the top rope into an unprettier type move, like a kill switch move that Grayson hits on him. He goes for the pin, gets a kick out from Javon though. That leads to Grayson Waller then grabbing Javon, throwing him shoulder first into the ring post. I think he also actually hit his ear on it, and then he goes to the top rope, sitting on it. But Javon stops him down there. Does a top rope super hurricanrana off the top rope, and then he goes into the other corner, does the OG cutter. 1, 2, 3. Javon Evans gets the dub. Javon Evans is on a run. I hope he gets a match at WrestleMania. Hopefully against Penta. Sounds like they could cook up there, But we don't know yet. Maybe it's going to be Penta. Maybe it's going to be Dominic. I don't know. Either way, Javon versus Penta or Dominic, that'd be a banger match. Overall, I give that match a 3.5 star match. I feel like these men performed well in this match. Good back and forth moments, and Javon is to the moon. I don't know what they're going to do with Grayson, though. Grayson is jobbing out here, man. It's sad out here. We get a shot of Adam Pearce backstage near medical, and Paul Heyman walks up, and he tells Pearce, "I'm going to need you to make the Vision versus the Usos next week in a street fight for the titles." And Pearce goes, "I'll consider it." And Paul Heyman's like, "You gonna consider it?" And he goes and saying, "Let me chill out. Let me calm down." He's like, "Yeah, I'll consider it." And also here you got you had time slotted in for you to be talking to the crowd. He said, "Now is that time." And Paul's like, "You're really gonna make me talk after everything that happened right now, bro?" He said, "Yeah, your time is right now." And then he goes to a commercial break, and then now Paul Heyman's in the ring. Paul Heyman mentions in the ring that he's having a really, really bad night, and it's even bad that he even has to talk in a place like Boston, Massachusetts. That gets a big boo with him, because everyone that's a little cheap pop to the crowd. And he mentions how the worst part about tonight is that he has nobody to hide behind. Braun Breaker, he hurt, he can't be there. Bronson Reed, he hurt, he can't be there. Brock Lesnar's pissed off after being embarrassed by Oba Femi, and Logan and Theory are halfway knocked out. so he ain't got nobody to defend him. And he mentions how that he has a stalker in Seth Rollins, and then he kind of breaks kayfabe a little bit. He says, outside of my character, at the end of the day, I'm a man, and as a man, I feel like I've been wronged. Seth feel like he wrong, and he said, it's just one way we can handle it. And he's saying that's not a challenge for a match at WrestleMania. He know he gonna get whooped by Seth, so he says, you know what? Why don't we just end it now? Seth, come out here and put me out of my misery. Talking long and on, back and forth, and then Seth finally pops up. He gets into the announce table, stand up there, takes the mask off, reveals himself, and then the cops show up. The cops show up and pull Seth down and arrest him because Paul Heyman has a restraining order on Seth Rollins. That means that Seth can't be near him. So that leads on to the cops then navigating him outside the arena. And while he's talking, and while he's walking, Paul Heyman is talking all his shit. He's talking about how now that he popped out, he's gonna be going to jail. He mentions how Becky Lynch is gonna divorce him after he becomes a felon and start being passed around by everybody in the locker room. That was crazy. And then mentions how because she can be getting passed around, she gonna have to need help taking care of their kid. And then Paul said he's gonna have to step up and adopt a kid so she won't end up being like her mama. And that man Seth snapped. He ran off from the cops, got in that ring, boom, big punch on that boy Paul. And now the cops handcuff him and take him outside the ring. And Paul is laughing because that was all part of his plan. But that is going to be the end of part 1 of this Raw Recap and Review. If you enjoyed this part, like the video and subscribe to the channel so you can see the second part, which should be near the end of this thing. It's gonna be somewhere up here so you can watch part 2. Now, so what are you doing there, man? You just gonna stand there and not watch part 2? Man, if you don't go watch part 2.